My name is Michael Lanigan. I'm a reporter with the Dublin Inquirer. And it's a newspaper in Dublin City, Ireland. And yeah, no, my field of interest is, and specifically the area that I report on, is arts and culture. And oftentimes it's I would work for the Dublin Inquirer, and then I would work freelance for a couple of other local both magazines local in Dublin and also on the national level and then over in the UK. And yeah, my primary interest is it would be broadly speaking in the arts, and that would be with I suppose a specific interest in a mix of fine arts or painting and performing, the performing arts, that those being two particularly prevalent I guess it's being like Dublin City would have quite a strong uh that it would have, I guess, a very rich backdrop of painters and performing artists, be it in theatre, and then also, to a certain extent, there'd be a strong performing element as well, and a lot of the local music that is currently active here. And I suppose specifically, I guess one of the things that I would do in my work is there would be an aspect of cultural criticism. Being a student of history, having studied it as well, I like to draw in that and to try and draw a a continuity between uh, different eras of culture in, I suppose, specifically in Dublin City. It's the city is my love and my focus, and I'd also draw in an element of it's I guess investigative reporting, because my newspaper, the Dublin Inquirer, we essentially it's a subscriber funded paper, which we sort of set ourselves up on account of the lack of interrogation with like local government, and that is it's quite a it's quite a stuffy and sometimes it can be quite a dull concept. So usually we're always working to try and make it engaging. So I think also Dublin is it's a very politically charged city at the moment, both in terms of there's issues with housing, there's issues with artist studio spaces. There's quite a lot of things that I suppose affect living, and indeed also, which is how it's having a dent on Dublin's cultural offerings, where we're losing a lot of our artists to migration, or just simply having to leave the city and move elsewhere. So you know I write a good deal as well about that impact on the arts. It's almost inescapable, especially because it's something that it greatly informs a lot of people's work. So it's both interrogating government, but also interrogating what people are like, what the artists are actually saying when they are attempting to tease out a political critique, and occasionally trying to add on to that with investigative reporting, which is might sound like a somewhat something of a strange combination, but yeah, no, I guess it's the niche that I found for myself. Are It's not that criticism doesn't exist, and certainly I think Ireland has a very strong uh tradition of, like, it has a very strong tradition of of criticism of the arts. But I guess, so I mean, like, really where it started was like and I wouldn't necessarily call myself a critic as much as I would like literally saying, referring to myself almost as like it would be a version of criticism, but more fundamentally, it's trying to draw in a broad base of styles, both reporting and criticism. So basically, usually I would refer to myself as like it'd be the very simple thing of, like, if I'm going to be writing about arts, I'm an arts writer. Um, but I think, like, really the role of criticism for me, it would have started as soon as I started in journalism, where usually it was generally, and this is also a reflection of where the issue starts to come about, it's very easy to get into criticism very early as a writer, because oftentimes it was it relying to a certain extent on opinion meant that publications they tended to pay for reporting as opposed to criticism, so you were able to build up a repertoire that way. of writing. So really, I started to engage with it in my early 20s, and that would have started by, to be initially as both an events and a film critic, before, like after a while, then starting to, I guess expand more, started to expand more out into performing arts, music, and the where those overlap, and then with painting. But yeah, it's something where I think oftentimes it's difficult to continue your work as a critic in an Irish context, insofar as there are very few jobs for the critic. There's a very limited number in different newspapers, different publications, and so you tend to find the work where you can get it. But yeah, and like, and indeed, I think it's not that it's dying so much as I think it's evolving, because I feel like there's a lot of people who, like, whether they know it or not, they engage with it on on through social media. Like, people can become a critic in, like, through developing a writing style via Twitter, or indeed by making video essays. But it's, I suppose, in the area that I'm specifically pursuing, it is immensely challenging, and often like it really, in order to do it, and this is, I guess, referring to the slightly old school of, newspapers and magazines. In order to do it, like, you tend to have to get a bit more inventive if you're not specifically working consistently as, the critic for, like, our national newspaper, the Irish Times. If you're not the theatre critic for them, or if you're not the arts critic. Well, I think a really interesting example at the moment is, it's a local magazine called, or I guess it's a mix between a magazine and a journal. It's called Holy Show, and that would come out. It's quarterly. If I'm actually, no, no, I'm mistaken. It comes out around once every 6 months, and they have. It's a very interesting magazine because it's essentially it's a magazine that's figuring out how to, like, it's not trying to repeat something from the past. It's constantly experimenting with what the purpose of an arts magazine is. My expectation is it's to get well, for one, and it's in line with what we've been talking about. It's to get a temperature check from people who work in criticism uh, across Europe, but and also in Japan. I'm having written there before. Like, it was, and this is 7 years ago. I'm especially interested to go back and actually see, like, I guess the position of arts writing, arts criticism, before, like, criticism of performing arts, because it was a place I left with good deal of admiration for writers there. So I'm curious to see what, like, how their experience has been going. Like, I'm expecting it to be somewhat parallel, but it's to engage with that, and also it's I'm looking to specifically, on the residency side. I think I'm looking to engage with other people to both see their experience, but also see if they can give, if they can share an insight that, like, in the case of the magazine that I was citing earlier, Holy Show, if it can inform my practice that way, through like literally how we persevere. And then on the festival side, it's a very rare opportunity to be encouraged to go to a festival and, I guess, be encouraged to write something that it could be in the long, in a long form, as long form criticism. You have to pitch an idea and then do that without necessarily telling your editor, and then say, this is what I've got, so can we take it from there? So having that encouragement from the start is, it's enthralling. So I'm looking forward to engaging with the festival that way. And yeah, after that, I think and just my other expectation is the thrill of being able to, like, spend time observing various events and seeing you know what engages with me and stimulates me to write. So it's, I mean, in one, there's a very nebulous idea of looking for future plans and solutions, but there's the other one which is just engaging with the event itself. And if I'm able to write about that, I think it's been an event that has, like, it's been a festival that has will be deeply satisfying.